Hello everyone, you're about to hear a summary of the movie Deadly Attraction. I hope you enjoy the movie. There are 3 of the most popular girls in school, and they all share the same name, Heather. They engage in a game of croquet that involves Veronica Sawyer's head. But in reality, it's just Veronica's fantasy. This girl shares her thoughts and feelings of inferiority with her personal diary. 2 of the Heathers kick Veronica and send her to the cafeteria. It's there that the main Heather wants to have a conversation with her. Veronica possesses an amazing talent for forging handwriting. Heather persuades her to compose a letter in the name of a soccer star and slip it to the unsuspecting Martha. The love letter is skillfully forged and presented to Martha on a tray. Meanwhile, Veronica is under the watchful eye of some guy. She once was friends with a nice girl named Betty, but now she's decided to spend her time with the popular girls. Heather commands Veronica to quit associating with what she considers trash. Naive Martha read the note and then approached the soccer player with it. Everyone laughed at the situation, except for Veronica. She received another smack from Heather because of that. Doesn't she want to be part of the most influential group in school? The girls are conducting these silly polls about the end of the world. The only person left to ask is the mysterious guy dressed in black. Veronica decided to take him on, and there was a noticeable spark between the students. The soccer players became jealous and decided to intimidate the loner by calling him homosexual. Jason, without taking much time to think, pulled out a gun and shot them directly in their faces. However, it resulted in nothing more than 2 pairs of soiled pants and a suspension. The bullets were actually blanks. Most importantly, Heather is always bullying the humble Heather number 3. Veronica's parents are curious about who she will go to prom with. She happened to run into the main contender at the grocery store just this evening. Meanwhile, Jason continues to move from one town to another. His rich father owns a construction company. Veronica complains that she's not particularly happy with her friends. Socializing with them is like going to work. Closer to nightfall, the friends arrived at a student party. Heather immediately locked herself in a closet with some dude. Veronica, on the other hand, was getting cold feet from his clingy boyfriend. She ends up sending ham, which pisses Heather off. Her plan was for both of them to sleep with the students. This talk caused Veronica to vomit directly on the carpet. The girl hurriedly escapes from the party. Heather calls Veronica a stupid fool, reminding her that she was a nobody until the blonde noticed her. The bitch threatens her now ex-girlfriend, saying she'll ruin her, and tomorrow she'll inform the entire school about how she embarrassed herself. At home, a furious Veronica vents in her diary, lamenting how foolish she was for exchanging Betty for those shallow dits. All she desires at this moment is for the despised Heather to meet her end. In this emotional state, Veronica was discovered by Jason, who had climbed in through her window. He proposed a game of croquet, and now they find themselves naked in a clearing. Jason also shares the sentiment that Heather, whom he considers a bitch, deserves to die. Well, that's just foolish talk. Veronica makes up her mind to make Heather vomit. The next morning, she and her lover quietly enter the schoolgirl's home and prepare to mix milk with orange juice. You could also make soup and add cola to it. However, Jason plans to use household chemicals instead. He poured the cleaner into a cup, despite Veronica's warning against it. Their goal is to prank her, not to harm her seriously. Just spitting in her juice would suffice. Jason distracted Veronica with a kiss, leading her to mistakenly grab the cup with the cleanser. The conspirators then woke Heather up and offered her a drink from the family's hangover remedy. The girl quickly understood the situation and refused to drink it, suspecting they had spit in it. However, Jason trusted Heather and took her word. Then, she insisted on having a cup and drank everything in one swift gulp. The girl suddenly clutched her throat and fell onto the glass table. Veronica was in shock and disbelief. She had just killed her best friend, or perhaps her best enemy. Now, she needed to think about what she would tell the police. Jason then decided to make it appear as if Heather chose to drink the purifier on her own. Veronica forged a note for her. They quickly made up a story about Heather's tough life and being misunderstood. The teachers' council let students leave early due to the tragedy. Heather, too, only wished for a week off. And #3 now eats freely since her girlfriend won't bother her. Veronica felt guilty and took a cold shower in her clothes. During class, a note from Heather was circulated, inviting everyone to talk about the inner world of a deceased classmate. Surprisingly, Heather has become even more popular after her death. Everyone is talking about what a wonderful girl she was. Veronica encounters Jason's sinister father. Mr. Dean takes pleasure in demolishing historic buildings to construct new hotels. At Heather's funeral, the father criticizes MTV and video games for the events that transpired. School children bid farewell to a classmate. Ram expresses sorrow, lamenting that God took such a wonderful girl. Heather 3, in contrast, expresses gratitude to the Almighty, believing her prayers were answered. Meanwhile, Veronica is hopeful that school life will improve now. Following the ceremony, Heather 2 invited her to join a double date with the soccer players. Currently, these players are occupied with the nerds, who allowed themselves to be overwhelmed. They grabbed a guy's arm and made him confess that he was gay and liked man sausages. Veronica agreed to go on the date, but she had one condition. The soccer players had to stop felling cows. However, those fools did exactly that in the evening, splattering mud on their girlfriends in the process. Later on, Ram attacked Heather, allowing Veronica to escape from her boyfriend once more. Fortunately, Jason was passing by and took his girlfriend to a coffee shop. The excitement surrounding the deceased student shows no signs of slowing down. Her artwork, photographs, and even a note she left behind are going to be featured in the yearbook. Veronica discovered that Kurt and Ram were spreading nasty rumors about her. Last night, the three of them had quite an enjoyable evening. In the evening, she called Kurt and proposed to make it real. She planned a meeting in the woods at dawn. This time, Jason loaded the guns with live ammo, but he claimed they wouldn't kill. These bullets, he said, act like tranquilizers and will only make the guys fall asleep. Jason had the girl rewrite the note. It was rumored that the athletes had the intention to kill each other, and once they wake up, they'll become the joke of the whole school. The note reveals their secret, confessing that they are in love with each other. To cover up their forbidden love, they had to act like jerks. Beside their bodies, a gay magazine, some candy, mascara, and a bottle of mineral water will be placed. As planned, Veronica met the boys in the woods. She instructed them to take off their clothes. Jason emerged from behind a tree and shot Ram in the throat. However, Veronica missed her target, and Kurt took off running for the hills. Jason quickly rushed in and pursued him. Meanwhile, Veronica was trying to determine whether Ram was dead or still alive. Kurt circled back and ran out into the clearing once more. This time, a dazed Veronica didn't miss, and Kurt fell to the ground. The conspirators had orchestrated the entire situation as planned and managed to escape at the last moment. The police arrived on the scene and heard the gunshot. The police officer pursued the couple, but they somehow managed to undress and get into their car, acting as if they were simply seeking some privacy. The officers hesitated for a moment, uncertain if the two soccer players were gay. However, the situation became obvious when they discovered mineral water, since in their town, all typical men drink only beer. As Veronica regained her clarity, she understood that they had indeed ended the lives of those idiots. The lowlife attempts to persuade her that she desired it all along. The rumor about the lovers begins to spread quickly through the school. The lovebirds were buried with helmets and balls. My son is a homosexual, but I love him. Veronica marvels at the phenomenon. The death of popular students has added depth to their brains and souls in the eyes of the public. But she, by all appearances, will go not to graduation, but to the scorcher. A particularly active teacher called on all the students in the cafeteria to hold hands and show their unity before the school tragedy. She even went so far as to call in the reporters. What was once simply the crime of a couple in love was sensationalized and turned into a public circus. While they were in the midst of arguing, the father entered the room and switched on the tape. He gleefully remarked about how he had blown up another building. Somehow, Jason's mom had walked into one of those buildings just 2 minutes before it exploded. Apparently, it was better for her to be there than to continue living with his father. Veronica suddenly realizes that her lover has completely lost control and insists that he must never approach her again. While in school, Jason started blackmailing Heather with an old childhood photo of her as Martha's stooge. They had been friends as kids, but now it's quite compromising. He schemed to elevate the girl to become the new queen of the school. Veronica is plagued by her conscience, and Heather too was thrilled to take on the persona of her late friend. Veronica longed to rekindle her friendship with the quiet girl Betty once more. This led to mockery from the other Heather who remained. Marty was tired of her meaningless life. She taped a note to her shirt and walked into the driveway. Veronica heard about it from Heather, who smiled. But the fat lady, such a loser, survived. Veronica couldn't resist and slapped her friend. Heather was shocked. Someone would care. The death of popular students. Truly tragic. Suddenly, the friends heard Heather too call the radio station to share her personal issues with the hosts. The following day, that girl went around telling everyone at school about her friend's weaknesses, completely ruining her reputation. Veronica cut off the head of the dragon, but then another one grew back in its place. Feeling upset, Heather rushed to the bathroom. Veronica made it just in time and knocked the pills out of her hands. The girl supported her friend, reminding her that while it was impossible to be happy every single day, it was no reason to do something reckless. Jason handed Heather all the compromising photos and asked her to gather signatures from the school children for the petition to bring a popular music group to our town, and everyone signed the petition except for Veronica. The girl discovered it was Jason's idea. Why would he do something like that? Heather, however, believes that the girlfriend is envious of Jason and is overwhelmed by it. The boyfriend doesn't stop attempting to win Veronica back. She had to escape from school, and her parents were waiting for her at home. Jason informed them that their daughter is behaving oddly, so it's best to keep sharp objects, chemicals, and medicines out of her reach. In her room, Veronica discovered a doll hanging. Earlier that evening, Jason had broken in through the window. The girl fooled herself into believing he was just a rebel, but he's actually a goddamn lunatic. Jason is preparing to handle the next Heather, and he's taken a large knife from the kitchen. However, Veronica is not willing to forge another note, but at this point, it doesn't really matter anymore. Things have become so complicated that it's now just a gamble to write, "Life is shit," and the public will believe it. Veronica's rich imagination painted a picture that everyone would show up at the teenager's next funeral already wearing 3D glasses and matching white outfits. Veronica woke up and made one last entry in her journal. It was her turn. James loaded the gun and, as usual, climbed through the window to Veronica. But he didn't make it in time. The girl was hanging from the ceiling, and a sheet encircled her neck. Psycho's sorry. He was going to kill his beloved himself. And prior to that, display what all the students had actually signed. They allegedly intend to blow up the school, which Jason is set to blow up tomorrow, just like his father did. Jason had to run away because his mom entered the room and stood frozen in place. Eventually, Veronica wrapped up the introductions and leaped onto the bed. "Hey, Mom, what's up with your face?" During the night, Jason put together the bomb and brought it into the building inside a bag. Once classes began and the hallways were empty, he proceeded to the gymnasium. That's the spot where the perpetrator attached the explosives to the bleachers. During recess, all the students were directed to the gym for yet another assembly. Veronica had a hunch that Jason would be discovered there, in the boiler room where he planned to plant the bomb. Veronica aimed a gun at Jason. However, he managed to knock the gun out of her hand and knocked her unconscious. The villain then started the timer. Veronica eventually regained consciousness and struck Jason with a fire extinguisher. Amidst the struggle, she managed to grab the gun, and the maniac went into hiding. Upstairs, the students and teachers are completely unaware of the serious danger they face. Veronica locates Jason and shoots off his finger, forcing him to stop the timer. Jason's motivation to kill everyone stems from feeling unloved. He believes there's nothing wrong with dying, as true social equality exists only in heaven. Veronica shoots the deranged Jason. As he leans on the knife, he accidentally cuts the wires, causing the detonator to stop just 4 seconds before the explosion would have occurred. A dirty and knocked down Veronica slowly walked out into the yard, followed by Jason, who was still alive. He had another bomb strapped to his body. Jason delivered a farewell speech and opened his arms wide, but the moment was nearly spoiled by a faulty detonator. Jason proceeded to detonate himself anyway. A smoking Veronica then entered the school and took Heather's red rubber band from her, declaring that there was a new sheriff in town. Later, Veronica proposed to a broken Martha that they skip the prom and